Hello viewers and welcome back to Dukascopy TV. Now I've got Dukascopy TV regular Philippe Monnier of GGBa in the studio now. We're talking CE marking. Philippe, thank you so much for popping in today.
Good morning, Natalie.
Now we're talking about CE marking today. Firstly, what does this mean or perhaps not mean as the case may be?
Okay, first I will tell you what it does not mean. It does not mean that a product which has a CE marking has been manufactured in Europe. It doesn't mean that the product has been approved by your European authority. It doesn't mean a Chinese export, CE. So what does it mean? It means basically that the manufacturer, on his own responsibility, made a self-declaration that his product is in conformity with the EU legislations.
So if, as you said, this marking is a self-declaration, who makes sure that these declarations are correct?
So in every country in the EU and in other countries, the national authority are responsible for making sure that the products are compliant. So what do they do practically? They do some spot check. And of course, they may have some hints that some products need to be checked more than others.
So what then are the advantages of CE marking?
So the CE marking advantages are fantastic because the fact of having the same technical norms all over many countries in Europe is an enormous advantage because it simplifies very much. It reduces the cost tremendously. It reduces the price also tremendously. I work in an industry before and after the CE marking, and it was really black and white.
You mentioned there Europe. Which countries is CE marking actually applicable within?
So basically, officially, the EU, European Union, plus Norway, Liechtenstein and Iceland. Practically, many other countries follow the CE marking, like Switzerland, we follow it 99%. And many other countries as well, outside Europe, also follow the CE marking.
So if we have regulations, if we have people making checks, how difficult is it to obtain CE marking?
So it depends fully on the product. It can be extremely simple for non-dangerous product, but it can also be rather difficult, for instance, for implantable medical device, where you have to make a number of clinical trials which have to be audited by what is called a notified body. But still, even though it is relatively complicated, it is much easier than before because we have the same in so many countries. And it is very often much easier than what you have in other regions of the world, like in the USA.
We're talking about products kind of in a big scale, but let's break this down a little bit. What type of products does this actually apply to?
It basically applies to 23 categories of products, and it ranges from a medical device to elevator, including many other technical products. It does not include a few important group of products like food, pharmaceutical, chemical, cosmetics.
Is there the argument here with so many regulations and with it being sort of quite complex idea almost, does CE marking perhaps kill or dampen potential for innovation?
Actually, it does not, for the following reason. The CE marking system has two parts. One part is what is called the CE directive, and the CE directive is mandatory. The CE directive are very general document written in a very legalistic language, and this is compulsory. In addition, you have what is called, for each product, you have what is called the harmonized standard. The harmonized standard is a very thick document written in very technical terms, and this is not compulsory. However, if you meet the harmonized standard, there is a presumption that the CE directive is fulfilled. But if you have a fully new product, a disruptive new technology, you don't need to meet the harmonized standard. You can just meet the CE directive, which is very broad. So it really allows to have very strong innovation, and the CE marking doesn't prevent it.
We have also ISO standards. What are the difference between these ISO standards and CE marking standards?
So to make it short, ISO is a worldwide standard, and CE marking is a European EU standard. But very often the EU standard has become the ISO standard. The European standard has become the worldwide standard. In other cases, it was not possible to agree. So if I take, for instance, the elevator industry, there are three major standards worldwide. The American one, the Japanese one, and then the CE one, the European one. Maybe one day there will be a worldwide standard, but there is, as you can imagine, a sort of commercial fight between three continents.
So let's focus this in a little bit more on Switzerland. Let's make this domestic. Are the CE marking requirements, including such as the harmonised standards, the same as the Swiss requirements that we see here?
So basically, in Switzerland, we have a law which says that we should not have any sort of non-tariff barrier with our main commercial partner. Consequently, in Switzerland, we recognize basically fully the CE standard. I would say 99.9%.
Philippe, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your views with our viewers today.
Thank you, Natalie.
That's all we've got time for right now, but I'll be back shortly with plenty more guests into the studio, so we'll see you then. Goodbye.